Most days, everything works. You wake up, lights turn on, water flows, coffee brews, phone connects, car starts, food arrives at your door in 30 minutes. Nothing feels fragile. Nothing feels like it could stop. Modern systems are invisible when they work. They fade into the background of daily life. They become assumed, expected, permanent. And because they work so well, we stop thinking about them entirely. Until one day, they don't. Comment now, have you ever thought about what would happen if the systems you depend on stopped working? When reliability becomes invisible. The invisibility of function. Modern American life is built on reliability. Not just reliability, assumed reliability. Electricity is assumed. You flip a switch, lights come on. Always. You don't think, will the power work today? Is the grid stable? Should I have a backup? You just assume it works. Water is expected. You turn the tap, water flows. Always. Clean. Pressurized. Safe to drink. You don't question it. Connectivity feels permanent. You open your phone, internet loads. Always. Messages send, videos stream, information appears instantly. You expect it. Not because we understand these systems, but because they rarely fail in visible ways. Over time, reliability becomes something we stop noticing, and when something stops being noticed, it stops being respected. If this already resonates, like now. The invisible becomes essential. Modern Americans live surrounded by invisible systems, systems you use every day but never see. Electricity, power plants hundreds of miles away, transmission lines across states, substations converting voltage, grid balancing supply and demand in real time. You see none of this. You just see light switch works. Water, reservoirs, treatment plants, pipelines underground, pumping stations, pressure regulators, invisible. You just turn tap, water appears. Food, industrial farms, processing facilities, distribution centers, refrigerated trucks, grocery store logistics, delivery networks. Invisible. You just order food, food arrives. Internet, data centers, fiber optic cables, satellites, content delivery networks, server farms, cooling systems. Invisible. You just open phone, internet works. This invisibility is by design. Good design hides complexity, makes things simple, effortless. But when systems become invisible, they also become unappreciated, misunderstood, taken for granted, and eventually fragile, because nobody's watching. Systems were never meant to be invisible. When systems were visible, in older societies, in rural America until the 1950s, systems were visible. You saw where heat came from, wood stove and kitchen. You saw the wood pile, the chopping, the fire, the heat radiating. You understood heat requires fuel. Fuel requires work. Fire needs tending. Heat is finite. Function was visible. How food was stored. Root cellar. Icebox. You saw vegetables stored in cool earth. Ice blocks delivered. Melting ice needing replacement. Spoilage if not careful. You understood food preservation requires effort. Temperature control isn't automatic. Planning is essential. How water was accessed. Well in yard, hand pump. You saw pumping water manually, carrying buckets, limited supply, effort required. You understood water isn't infinite. Access requires work. Conservation matters. Function required awareness. You couldn't use these systems without understanding them, at least basically. Modern invisibility. Today, systems are hidden behind walls, electrical wiring, plumbing, HVAC ducts, insulation. Behind screens, apps, interfaces, algorithms, automation. Behind infrastructure, distant power plants, remote servers, centralized facilities, complex supply chains. This makes life comfortable, undeniably comfortable. You don't need to chop wood, pump water, preserve food manually, understand how anything works, just use it. But it also removes feedback. Systems without feedback become brittle. What is feedback? Information about system state. Wood stove provides feedback. You see, fire dying down, wood supply low, heat decreasing. You respond. Add wood, restock pile, adjust before cold. System stays functional. Modern heating provides no feedback. Thermostat set to 72 degrees Fahrenheit. It just works. You don't see gas supply, furnace condition, system strain, infrastructure status until it stops. Then, crisis. No gradual warning, no time to adapt. Share with someone who's never thought about system fragility. Efficiency removed the buffer. The efficiency trap. Modern American systems are incredibly efficient, more efficient than ever in history. They run just in time. Grocery stores, 3 days of inventory. Hospitals, minimal drug stockpiles. Gas stations, frequent deliveries. No excess storage. With minimal redundancy. Single points of failure. Lean operations. No backup systems. Cost-cutting measures. With little margin. Tight schedules. Maximum capacity utilization. No slack. Every resource optimized. Efficiency feels intelligent. It is intelligent, economically. Lower costs, faster delivery, higher profits, better prices for consumers. But buffers are what absorb stress. What are buffers? Buffers are excess capacity, extra inventory, backup systems, redundant infrastructure, spare resources, slack, time margins, flexible schedules, room for delays, adaptability. Reserves, stored goods, emergency supplies, backup plans, alternatives. Buffers seem wasteful, inefficient. Why store extra when just in time is cheaper? Because buffers absorb shocks. Example, 2021 Texas winter storm. What happened? Unprecedented cold. The power grid failed. 4 million without power, some for days. Why it failed? Texas grid designed for efficiency, minimal excess capacity, no interconnection with neighboring states, independence equals no backup, just enough for normal conditions, optimized for cost. When abnormal conditions hit, no buffer, the system collapsed. If there had been buffers, excess capacity, connections to other grids, redundant systems, failure would have been partial, shorter, manageable. But buffers cost money. Efficiency removed them. When systems lose buffers, they gain speed, cost efficiency, profit. They lose resilience, adaptability, recovery capacity. System performs beautifully under normal conditions, but becomes fragile under stress. COVID-19 revealed this everywhere. Hospital capacity, normally efficient. Crisis, overwhelmed immediately. No buffer beds, staff, equipment. Supply chains, normally just-in-time delivery works. Crisis, empty shelves in days. No buffer inventory. PPE supplies, normally minimal stockpiles. Crisis, shortage for months. No strategic reserves. Efficiency optimizes for today. Buffers prepare for tomorrow. We chose efficiency and lost resilience. Comment: do you think modern systems are too efficient for their own good? Failure is quiet at first. The gradual collapse. System failure rarely arrives dramatically. Hollywood shows explosions, chaos, immediate crisis. Reality, failure begins quietly, as small delays. Package arrives 2 days late instead of next day. Supply chain issues, barely noticed. Temporary outages, power flickers occasionally. Internet drops briefly. Water pressure low sometimes. Dismissed as glitches. Minor inconveniences. Item out of stock. Service unavailable. Try again later. Annoying but manageable. Nothing that demands attention, nothing that feels like failure, because the system still mostly works, so the warning is ignored. The slow erosion. Then, delays become frequent, outages last longer, inconveniences multiply. But still, system hasn't collapsed, it just works worse. People adapt. Guess I'll order earlier. Might lose power, keep flashlight handy. That website is always slow now. Adjustment becomes normal. By the time failure becomes obvious, adaptation is already difficult because skills atrophied, alternatives gone, dependence deep, no preparation. Failure doesn't announce itself, it creeps. Comfort changes behavior. When everything works, skills fade. When systems work perfectly, behavior changes, not intentionally, gradually. Skills fade. Cooking. Grandparents cooked from scratch. Parents, some cooking, some convenience. Today, many young Americans rarely cook. Delivery, takeout, meal kits. Why learn when it's easier not to? Repair. Past, Americans fixed things. Cars, appliances, clothes. Today, just replace it. Why repair when new is cheap and fixing is unknown? Navigation. Past, read maps, no directions. Today, GPS always. Lost without it. Awareness drops. You don't track where food comes from, how much you have, what systems you depend on, alternatives if they fail. Why would you? Everything works. Preparedness disappears. Emergency supplies. Past generations, pantry with weeks of food. Today, 3 days of food, maybe? Backup plans. Past, what if? Today, it'll be fine. Not because people become careless, but because comfort trains expectation, and expectation rewires dependency. Modern life runs on trust. Trust without understanding. Very few Americans control the systems they depend on. Most of us trust infrastructure. Power grid, water systems, transportation networks, communication systems. Automation. Algorithms, supply chains, financial systems, healthcare. Processes we never see. Food production, manufacturing, distribution, maintenance. Trust is not a flaw. Trust enables modern civilization. We can't all be experts in everything. But trust without understanding removes agency. When systems work, trust is invisible. Everything flows. Life is comfortable. When systems fail, trust becomes dependence. Those who relied entirely on trust feel it first because they have no backup knowledge, no alternative skills, no preparation, only expectation. And expectation doesn't help when reality changes. Modern systems are not weak, they are impressive, marvels of engineering, organizational complexity, human achievement. But they were built for stability, not disruption. They work beautifully under the conditions they were designed for. When conditions change, when stress exceeds design parameters, when assumptions break, systems struggle. And the issue isn't failure itself. Failure happens, always has, always will. The issue is how unprepared we are for it, how dependent we've become, how invisible systems have made our vulnerabilities, how comfort removed our resilience. If this video made you think differently, like so more Americans understand system fragility, subscribe to Built for Another World. We explore how modern life quietly undermines resilience and what to do about it. Share with someone who thinks it could never happen here. And comment, Which system failure would affect you most? Power, water, internet, food supply? Modern systems don't collapse suddenly. They stop working the way we expect, slowly, quietly, until one day, normal doesn't return. And that difference between temporary inconvenience and permanent change matters more than anything. You just learned why.